So we'll discuss some Minyani Chanukah. So 2 weeks ago we ended off. We were discussing priority in mitzvahs, and then at the end of this year we tied it into Chanukah, the Gemara in Chav Dalet, I believe, around there in Shabbos, about if you have a choice between you're afflicted with poverty and you don't have enough money to do all the mitzvahs, so you have to make some tough decisions. So it's a choice between Ner Shabbos, Ner Chanukah, and wine for Kiddush. So the Gemara concludes, Pshita Ner Shabbos Adif. It's obvious Ner Shabbos is Adif because of Shalom Bayis. And then the Gemara says, okay, so what about the other two? Is it Ner Chanukah is Persume Nisa, or do you go with Tadir? So the Gemara concluded you go with Persume Nisa over Tadir, and therefore the order was first Ner Shabbos, then Ner Chanukah, and then wine for Kiddush. So Tosas asked, like, what do you mean when we lane on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, we take out 3 Sifrei Torah? So the order is Parashat Shavua, we read Rosh Chodesh, and then Chanukah. I thought we said Persume Nisa beats out Tadir, so we should be reading from Chanukah first, and then from Rosh Chodesh. So a discussion, the Rishonim, how you reconcile. One approach is that no, we only say Persume Nisa Adif if you're making a choice. You're only going to do one, and now which one am I going to do? Then Persume Nisa Adif wins. But if I'm doing both, it's just an issue of Kadima, of precedence, and then you go with the other principle of Tadir, V'Sheino Tadir, Tarda Kodem. Another Rishonim say no. Persume Nisa Adif always wins. I don't care if it's either or. I don't care if you're doing both. Alright, so if that's the case, then why is it last? So why don't we read Rosh Chodesh and then Chanukah? And that's because Achron Chaviv. We want to read from Neira Sechaya. We want to read from the Haftorah's Chanukah. And the halacha is you read the Haftorah from the last Kriyas HaTorah. So because usually Persume Nisa Adif, you think it comes first 90% of the time. But in this case, you want to be last, so you can read from the Haftorah. Then we ask, what about during the week when it's Stam Rosh Chodesh Chanukah? So the order is Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah. So Bishlam, according to the first school of thought, so therefore we said that it's only a question, Persume Nisa Adif, it's only either or. You're doing both, so you do Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah. But according to the second school of thought, Persume Nisa Adif always wins. It's only the Haftorah is the drawing, but there's no Haftorah Shabbos, Monday morning, Sunday morning, so how come we still do it? So that's what they point out. There really is no Persume Nisa. The Persume Nisa is in the Haftorah. In the Kriyas HaTorah, there is no Persume Nisa. In fact, it was a later institution that we have the Zos Chanukah, this long reading on the 8th day of Chanukah. And therefore, we just have to read Kriyas HaTorah. It's a day which is obligated in Kriyas HaTorah. Therefore, you just have Tadir, V'Sheino Tadir, and that's it. And therefore, that's why Rosh Chodesh first. So actually, connected along these lines, we could answer also perhaps another famous machlokas among the poskim, and maybe we have different minhagim in this room even, Yeshami Litzmoch in either direction. The shaila of what do you do first? Do you make, when on Shabbos Chanukah, when Shabbos is ending, and you're going to make Havdalah, do you make Havdalah first, or do you do near Shabbos? So let's say, so in the shul, most assume you'd make the Chanukah first, and then you do Havdalah. At home, you have Minakatza, you have many achronim on both sides of the coin. Either you want to push off Shabbos as much as you can, or Persume Nisa. So what exactly is the issue in whether you make at home, if you do Chanukah first, or if you do Havdalah? The Gemara said Persume Nisa Adif. So therefore, why is it a shaila? So perhaps it's the same issue. Persume Nisa Adif is you're only doing one thing. Here you're doing two. So according to the first school of thought, then it would make sense you make Havdalah first because Tadir V'Sheino Tadir Kodem. But the other shita that says the second school of thought, which says Persume Nisa Adif, is all the time. So perhaps that's the reason why for the minhag of. So that's the minhag in the Achronim. I'm just tying it in. Perhaps that's the issue over here in terms of whether you make Havdalah or you do Chanukah first. Depends on this issue on which school and how you learn Pshat in the Gemara, presuming Nisa Adav, either or even in both cases. Interesting. What about the reverse case, which usually doesn't come up? Is what about before Shabbos? What do you make first? Well, obviously you're not making Havdalah, but do you light near Shabbos first, or do you do near Chanukah? So people automatically say, well, of course near Chanukah. I'm not going to disagree with the conclusion, because how could you light Chanukah candles on Shabbos? I'm in agreement. You cannot light Chanukah candles on Shabbos, but who says that lighting Shabbos candles makes it Shabbos? Which is a major machlokas Rishonim. There are those, the Bach, there's a minority view, not the way we paskin, is that when you light Shabbos candles, you're automatically makabel Shabbos. And that's why, in fact, that's where we get, some say that's the Uraim sheet, that's why we light candles 18 minutes before, because that's the one sheet to that 18 minutes before Shkia is when you have to makabel Shabbos. But they point out that this issue about being makabel Shabbos. So by Yantif, the poskim agree, but not the candle lighting. It's the same issue, but they agree by if you don't make a shechiyanu, even if you agree that, which we say, you can make the brachas before, but we paskin that when you make a shechiyanu, you're makabel yantiv al karcha. You can't say, well, shechiyanu, okay, let me get in the car now and I'll get ready for kol nidri now. By definition, that's why some recommend that it's either that a woman could just listen and she'll make the shechiyanu and shul like everyone else, or if they still insist, they have to make it on Kiddush and let them walk to shul. That's their other option. They can't go in the car anymore. But you don't have to make the shechiyanu. But we assume the mir hadlakas neiris by itself, you're not makabel Shabbos or Yontiv. Again, if the minhag is that women usually light candles, so then there's a little difference whether a man lights or a woman lights. If a woman who usually accepts Shabbos through lighting candles, so then we assume stam she has in mind to makabel Shabbos, and if she dafka doesn't want to, she should have negative kavanah. Like Rav Moshe has a tshuva where a person wanted to go to shul afterwards. So fine. So if you normally, for a man who normally does not accept, unless if you're a man that does and you need it, it's not a man and woman divide. It's how do you normally makabel Shabbos. I'm just using men and women as an example. So men who usually do not accept Shabbos by lighting candles, so therefore you don't even have to have a mind. Just go in the car and beforehand. So really we paskin that you don't makabel Shabbos by lighting candles. So why do we have to light Chanukah candles before Shabbos? And in fact, none of them, I think it's the Chuvas Harashba that even says you should light Shabbos candles first, because Tadir v'sheino Tadir, Tadir Kodem. I guess that could also get into the Persumi Nisa issue, whether in terms of that. The Lamaisa, the minhag is probably pi halacha. There's definitely grounds to light Shabbos candles first, and if you did light Shabbos candles, then I'd say go ahead and light Chanukah candles, assuming that you didn't have a mind to accept Shabbos. But the minhag is probably, as always, that it does seem a little confusing to the average person, the non-lam. They're like, what do you mean? Of course, Shabbos candles is Shabbos to them, and that's it. So not to confuse the olam, we go with the kiss principle. We keep it simple, stupid, and therefore, probably that's the minhag is developed. That that we just go ahead.
Same with Havdalah then in the house.
Yeah, well,
and Shabbos.
Yeah, right, after all said and done, that's probably why the minhag developed for most, because they don't really get it. In the non-lumdit, that's probably the bottom line where the minhag developed because of this reason, right? That most people, you're assuming Havdalah and Chanukah, and that's just what. So we're not going to talk. Oh well, that means I could watch the game before I make Havdalah. But then you get into. So therefore, we want to keep it simple, and therefore keep the regular order. We do Chanukah and then Shabbos, even though strictly speaking, there's nothing wrong with actually doing Ner Shabbos first and Ner Chanukah. And similarly, Saturday night as well, one can make do Ner Chanukah, because in that case you're making Havdalah anyway. The assumption is you made Havdalah in Tefillah, and and it's not
everybody did.
No, right. Then, or the woman.
Everybody.
Yeah, I know that a woman.
Kids
No, so then you have. No, then you can't. Then you have Baruch Hamavdil Ben Kodesh Shachor. Then you have.
Choice. You'll find it first.
But the people at home that didn't go to shul,
so that's why it's not for them.
Right, and you say that's why you do Baruch Hamavdo Ben Kodesh L'Chol. But either way, that's probably just that's why probably the meaning developed, because it makes there's definitely grounds for that also, but this makes the most sense to the Hamonam. So that's what we do. The meaning, at least the meaning certainly is Friday. We do near Chanukah and then near Shabbos, but actually Havdalah. I mean, my meaning is I do Havdalah near Chanukah, but among the Achronim, the plenty of Achronim who say to do near, they
Even
use,
at home,
you want to
even
keep,
at home.
I don't know, kind of get it, you want to keep Shabbos longer. Well, if you live near Chanukah, I don't think it's Shabbos. I hope it's not Shabbos anymore.
Which is interesting. You already said Havdalah.
I know.
So it seems to imply that there's something about a lingering effect of Shabbos until you actually do Havdalah.
Right, 'cause it actually gets into the discussion like, why do we need two Havdalahs? In fact, originally, based on Mashraf in the Gemara in Brachas and Chavavam and Beis, really we didn't have these two Havdalahs. Really, it was the Havdalah and Tefillah. That was Havdalah. But when we became affluent and we could afford to make Havdalah wine, so they instituted later on to make Havdalah ala kos. But so then, the Brisker Rav, others point out there are different lumdices in terms of why we need both. The Havdalah in Tefillah is Matir Malacha, that basically you could do Malacha now and drive home. But some point out, but in order to eat, to Matir Achila, you need the Havdalah ala kos. Of course, within reason, obviously if you're not going to get wine until Monday, you don't have to fast. But if you plan on making Havdalah within the next while, then you should not be eating until you make Havdalah. It's a general halacha of not, when you have a mitzvah in front of you, you shouldn't be eating a meal or stuff before you do the mitzvah.
Why would you even consider doing Ner Chanukah before Havdalah? Because of Persumei Nisa?
Yeah, Persumei Nisa.
In shul, but even at home?
Even at home, yeah. Because you already did Havdalah in shul anyway, you said Atachon, so therefore you want to get to Persumei, again, depending, those two schools of thought, which I started with, if you assume Persumei Nisa Adif, and it means, so then you want to start right away, because again, we'll see, Bisman Hazeh, it's less of an issue, but also Bisman HaGemara, we're very strict on the Zman in terms of lighting. In fact, that's the Gemara in Shabbos Chaf Alav Amabez, I believe. The Gemara says mitzvasa. When is the mitzvah of near Chanukah? Mitzvasa mishet tishka achama ashet tichlo regel min ashuk. The Zman of lighting Chanukah candles is mishet tishka achama. That's a major machlokas rishonim. What does that mean? Mishet tishka achama. Does it mean the beginning of sunset, the end of sunset? So the Rambam's opinion is it means the beginning of Shkia, our sunset. And the Mordechai and other Rishonim say no, it means Seitzach Chavim. And that's a major machlokas Rishonim in general. When the Gemara talks about Mishet Tishka Chama, what does that mean? In terms of ending a fast day, the Gemara in Taina. So that's a general. That's it. So the Rambam Shita is that you have to light a shkia, and that's the minhag, I think, of the Gra as well, and that's the minhag of the Briskers, based on the Rambam, that the medak that you have to light a shkia sachama, and it's not a kula. You either better have long candles or you better use oil, because they all agree it's ashatichel. The time doesn't change when it's over. It's just telling you still need a half an hour. We have to say, whatever Ashaticha Regel and Ashuk means, but that's why this Tzachumra that you start. In fact, I think they say the Meister with the Brisker Rav in Israel, like they wanted to know how late the candles, like they should leave them going before you blow them out, or so I don't think he went to the movies, but he said until the last movie is showing and they're coming home, then it's still Ticha Regel Min Ashuk. We'll see. Today, perhaps we don't really need Ticha Regel Min Ashuk, but the Gemara says Mishat Tishka Chama, and that raises the issue by Shabbos, because obviously, so Bishchol, we don't even Shkia is too late for Friday. So what do we do on Friday? Obviously, we light Chanukah candles before Shabbos. But the Rambam writes you can't light before. You can't light before Mitishka Chama. The Zman is he's not. Depending how you learn, you have a little time afterwards, but we'll see the Rambam's machba, once you miss the time, it's over, but you can't light it before. So clearly on Friday we light Chanukah candles before the Zman. So what's the pshat? How can we, so obviously, it's the Efshar. We can't light Chanukah candles after we accept Shabbos. So that, so we'll come back to that issue. And then the Gemara says that shetichel regel min ashuk. You have until the last people on the street. So basically, we assume kachatzi shah. That basically a half an hour after nightfall, the candles minimally should last for. So there's an interesting discussion in the Rishonim. This is Bizman HaGemara. Bizman HaZet, it's a totally different shaila. Bizman HaGemara, let's say you missed. So according to the Rambam, you can't do it before Shkiyat Achama. And what about after Tichel Regel Min Ashuk? So according to the Rambam also, if you missed, if it's Asha Tichel Regel Min Ashuk, that's it. Lucky Chanukah is 8 days, you could catch tomorrow night, or the next night, unless it's today. But that's it. Once you miss Tichel Regel Min Ashuk, the Rambam writes you missed the mitzvah, you no longer do it.
So it interprets the Gemara as meaning that that's an interval during which you should light.
Right.
But they have to be lit.
Right.
But you can start early. You can start.
Yeah,
late.
that's the Gemara. The Gemara says, so what's fair? Why is the Brisa telling me? Is it the Elo Adlik Madlik? So the first day in the Gemara what is it coming to tell me? That if I didn't lie yet, I still can lie, like you're saying? Or no, Inami L'Shiure. Or it's not telling me when I have to lie, no, it's telling me the time, every time I have to lie, this is how long it has to, that's 2 days in the Gemara, and then we'll get to Tosfos in a second. So the Rashba disagrees with the Rambam and says, what are you talking about? Of course, l'chatchila you light during this time period, but if you miss Tichel Regel Min Ashuk, you light after Tichel, or you write, like the Mishnah says in Megillah, mitzvah in the Laila, it's Kol HaLaila. So what's in the Kudas HaMachlokes between the Rambam and the Rashba on whether Asha Tichel Regel Min Ashuk is the end game or no, it's just a preferable game and not the end game. So clearly the Rambam seems to be assuming that we know the 2 aspects to the mitzvah, which might be one, but the 2 aspects to the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is the Ma'isa Hadlaka, the act of lighting the candles, and then there's the Persumei Nisa, the publicizing. So the Rambam seems to equate the 2. The mitzvah is you only can do a Ma'isa Hadlaka, Sheyesh Bo Persumei Nisa. So whatever the facts are today, the Rambam is assuming during his time, if you lit candles before Shkia, that's nothing. And once a Tichel Regel Min Ashuk, it's not the Zman HaMitzvah before, and once a Tichel Regel, there's no more presuming, you could do a Ma'isa Hadlaka, but there's no one on the street, so therefore the Persumei Nisa is inherent to the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah, and the Rambam says even B'di'evet it's no good. And the Rashba obviously separates them into 2. I agree. The Ma'isa is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan and a Ma'isa Hadlaka, end of discussion, you have the whole night. Of course, like everything else, there's an appropriate time, l'chadchila time and a b'di'evet time. Of course, you should light when it's all about Persumei Nisa, the more the merrier. But at the Tichel Regel Min Ashuk, you miss it, you go on. So that seems to be the Machlokes Rambam and the Rashba. And Tosfos here on Shabbos.
Sorry, so is this a Ma'isa mitzvah versus like what? Versus Kiyum? Is this the same kind of?
No, not the Kiyum. That was they have it in the new tradition that came out. Someone wrote an article on the Rav about did you get the new tradition? About he has a whole, I didn't get to read, but he goes into Ma'isa and Kiyum. This is, it's still tied into that. But usually Ma'isa Kiyum means is, let's say, normally they go hand in hand. Let's say I shake the lulav, so I'm doing the Ma'isa and the Kiyum. I chew the matzah. So say shofar. So let's say maybe Tekiah shofar is the Ma'isa mitzvah, and the Kiyum mitzvah is the Shemiah. Here it's not really. Here what they're saying in the Rambam is it's not that they can happen. Usually that they do have. That according to the Rambam, in order to fulfill them, you can't separate the 2. In other words, if you can't, I guess you could call it the Kiyum HaMitzvah if you want. I mean, in that sense, it's the same. If you want to say, the Rambam says you can't separate the Ma'isa mitzvah with the Persumei Nisa, which you could say is the you could say the Kiyum is the Kiyum HaMitzvah. If you want to, you can learn like that and say, and therefore you can't separate the 2, and therefore it's a no-go. And you say like the Rashba, no. That seems to be the suffix in Tosfos, because Tosfos writes over there, what happens if you miss Tichel Regel Min Ashuk? He says it seems to depend on those 2 days in the Gemara. The Elo Adlik Madlik, that's it, it's too late. But Inab L'Shiure, they never say what time I could light at 11 o'clock and it's on. So he's Mesupek and he says to light without a bracha. Tosfos. So it's clear, it seems to be, Tosfos' doubt seems to be the Machlokes, the Rambam and the Rashba. Tosfos isn't sure. Could you separate Persumei Nisa from from the Ma'is
The
Hadraka.
Rambam would say you can't light on the table. You
Well,
can't light it in the middle of your house where nobody can see it.
Again, we'll
That's
assume,
something
we'll get into it, we'll get to Shasaka, assuming that's not pursuing Nisa, yeah. So, and there's a fourth sheet to the Sefer HaTruma says, what are you talking? What are you guys getting all worked up about? You don't have to worry. You know what you do? If it's after Tikkun Regman Hashuk, like Garrett said, you bring it inside. Okay, maybe put it by your window, not on the table. But he says, no problem, you light inside. This is Bisman HaGemara. So it's a big kiddush of the Sefer HaTrumas. He's clearly disagreeing with the Bali Tosas because obviously Tosas didn't think it was an option. Tosas is Mesupik whether you could light past this man, whether depending on those two sheets, whether therefore he said to light without a bracha. Obviously Tosas didn't entertain the possibility of bringing it inside. In fact, how do I know that? We can't tell from what I told you, but if you read two Malones and Tosas writes, but Bisman Hazeh, during his time, the mitzvah has changed. That now that we light inside, so maybe all these issues, we don't have to worry. So we see, so Tosas says, Bisman his time, but during the Gemara it wasn't an option. So it seems to be a machlokas rishonim, whether Bisman HaGemara, there was an option of lighting inside. And in fact, it's the Gemara itself, how you learn the Gemara later on. The Gemara on the same page, Chaf Aleph and Beis, a little further down. The Gemara talks about what's the appropriate time for lighting, or I should say the appropriate place for lighting. So it says, Meiniach al shulchano, it says, no, you put it by your window, or if not, or if you're in the attic somewhere, where people could see it. And then the Gemara says, Uveshas ha-sakana, in the time of danger, Meiniach al shulchano v'dayu, you put it on the table, and that's enough. So, what's the kasha what's the pshat here? Is the Gemara discovering America here? Like, are we saying a tremendous chiddush, or it's just making an observation? In other words, what's pshat here? Is it telling me now a new halacha? You always had to light outside, but now, let me tell you something, shas sakana, you light, or that's how some Rishonim will say, that's how Bali Tosas will learn. And the Sefer HaTruma will say, no, you always do it out inside. But the Gemara is making an observation. When you do it inside, all things being equal, you don't light it inside. But with Shas Sakana, you do what you could always do, but Shas Sakana is the motivation here, you bring it inside. So that how you learn that Gemara is the basis of the Machlokas Rishonim. And in fact, it seems to be a Machlokas Achronim on this issue. A Machlokas, the Magen Avram and the Vilna Gaon. Actually, on the Gemara we were discussing, we started to share with. It doesn't seem to be a Gemara, but the Vilna Gaon sees it as an explicit Gemara. Maybe it's implied. In other words, the Shai was like this. We said, what did we say? The Gemara says you only have enough money to buy near Shabbos, near Chanukah, or Kiddush Al Yayin. So we said near Shabbos wins, because Shalom Bayis, and then pursuing this, etc. So, and then the number one is the Shiloh. Why does near Shabbos win? If isn't Kiddush Daraisa? So, we all know how important Shalom Bayis is, but that's what the Rishonim point out. That because near Shabbos itself, really, Practice isn't Daraisa. Maybe it's during the VM, or it's Rabbanan. There's a sheet halacha Moshe Misina, but Pashas it's not Daraisa. Kiddush is, so that's what we explained, that really only, we pass can only Kiddush Bidvarim is really the Rambam Shita, that the Yumakadosh Shabbos Bidvarim. The Kiddush Al Yayin is only D'Rabbanan, so therefore in Akanami they're all D'Rabbanans, and then Shalom Bayis wins. But you give me a Hecha Timsa where it was Daraisa would beat it out. So the Shailat the Magen Avram has in the Vilna Gaon is, I don't know, what's the Gemara? Why are they getting all worked up? I have a simple solution. Why didn't the Gemara think about it? What do you mean? The Gemara is saying, which mitzvah should I do? Do both. Why can't you use one candle? Remember, there's two mitzvahs of candles here, near Shabbos and near Chanukah. Use the same candle for Shabbos and Chanukah. What are you going all around making up tough situations? It's very simple. Yet, why didn't the Gemara give the simple answer of using the same candle for near? So the Magen Avram says, I'll tell you why. It's very simple why. Because they're in different places. Okay, we're talking Bisman HaGemara. So Bisman HaGemara, the Magen Avram saying they lit outside. He's assuming that was the only option, like the Bali Tosas and other Rishonim. And therefore, how could you? Near Shabbos is inside, and near Chan, so therefore it wasn't practical. So therefore, it's impossible. But the Vilna Gaon learns like the Sefer HaTrumas that says no. You could always light, even Bisman HaGemara, you're allowed to light inside. You just didn't, because you go with the Yotir Persumei Nisa. So what's the pshat in the Gemara? Then why didn't the Gemara give the answer of why one? So then he says this. So he has a chiddush. There's a machaber which seems that it doesn't seem to have any source. The Gemara talks about by Ner Chanukah, asur l'hishtamish, or you can't get benefit from the Ner Chanukah, counting money, bizor mitzvah, the sugi over there in Shabbos. So that's it. The Gemara doesn't. So it comes along the machaber and writes, afilu tashmishay mitzvah. Even with dvar mitzvah you can't use. But so people all ask on the machaber, like, I don't see it in the Gemara. Like, where are you making this up from? Where's the source? So the Vilna Gaon writes, what do you mean? It's an explicit Gemara. To him, it's an explicit Gemara. He says, the Gemara we did, obviously, the explicit Gemara means you have to ask yourself, when you learn the Gemara, why didn't the Gemara give the answer, use the same candle for both? So the Gaon answer, because you couldn't use, you can't use both, you can't do the same candle for Ner Chanukah, and it could be and if you have no, it seems more difficult. Let's say you have no option. So in fact, there's a discussion in the Magen Avram. Which bracha would you make? Would you make two brachas? Would you one? How would you actually work it out anyway? Even if you could do it, because according to the Magen Avram, in theory, you could do it, except that it's just not. He doesn't say you can't do it. He says you can't do it because Ner Chanukah is outside, Ner Shabbos is inside. Mashma in the Magen Avram that if you could light Chanukah candles inside, he would agree. There's no problem, and then he doesn't really discuss what bracha you would make. But this machlokas rishonim, the Bali Tosfos, the Sefer HaTrumas, on whether you could do, whether you could light Chanukah candles inside Bisman HaGemara, seems to be the same issue. The Magen Avram and the Vilna Gaon on this issue. Why didn't the Gemara give that reason of using both? So Tosfos points out, Bisman Hazeh, we don't have to worry because the mitzvahs change. That's what many posts can point out, that even though we still, if you're a brisker and or a gronik, so then the minhag is to light at shkia, and therefore you have long candles or oil. I say the minhag olam is we don't assume like the Rambam and the Gra, and therefore Rov Rishonim say Mishat Tishka Chama means at nightfall, which is the prevalent minhag. People light once you get light Chanukah candles at night. How late do you have to wait? Let's assume you're waiting. First, Rav Moshe discusses. He says it in New York, but Hamilton, Toronto shouldn't be that much different anyway. You just have to check. Rav Moshe was saying probably the ideal time is like 20-25 minutes after Shkia. Is that Seitz HaChochavim? Well, it depends. We don't know exactly when Seitz is. That's a kosher, and when Seitz HaChochavim is, many different shittas. So therefore, what do we do? So obviously, when it comes to Shabbos and Yom Kippur, the rice is we're going to be machmir. We're going to keep, so let's say the Young Israel special is usually 42 minutes after Shkia, which is basically an hour after candlelighting. That's what many. So therefore, by Shabbos and Yom Kippur, you're going to wait to that. But if you're talking about Asara B'Tevis or Som Gedalia, there isn't necessarily a reason to wait to the 42 minutes anymore, besides other reasons. That's a separate share about when the fast ends. So therefore, when we're dealing with the Deraisa, so it makes sense to be Machmir. We're dealing with a Durabanan or a Minig, not. So Rav Moshe says Ner Chanukah is only Durabanan, even though there's a Ramban that says there's an allusion in the Torah, Baloschas Haneros, and people talk about you getting a Kiyam Deraisa, but even though the Chiyam is only Durabanan, but perhaps you get a Kiyam Deraisa. But the bottom line is that, so Rav Moshe writes, you could start lighting, 20-25 minutes after Shkia, kind of like people say by Sfiras HaOmer, if you assume Sfiras HaOmer is Durabanan, and also you don't have to wait, if you're davening in shul with a davening, so you could, count right there if you're worried about forgetting. But even if not, you don't have to wait to, 72 minutes, because we paskin, or most paskin that Sfira is only Durabanan, there's no need to wait to the end, to the end of Seitz for that. So that's what Rav Moshe. But others, even if you don't want to go with Rav Moshe, so you want to wait till your 42 minutes or whatever way. And today people aren't usually home anyway until later. I remember when I was in the Rav Shechter's Kollel, there's different programs. I was in the regular Yara Smichas, he had different options. So one was Rav Shechter's kol in the afternoon. So I remember on the bulletin board, he used to quote the Meiri, and he used to say this is what the Rav. I think the story goes either Rav Aaron Lichtenstein or the Rav Shechter. One of them asked the Rav, what should the policy? Because the Kol El Seder, if I recall, went from 3 to 6:30. I guess that's assuming you're learning that on a normal day. But 3 to 6:30, and then 6:30. Let's say it's the ideal time to light. Let's say was 5:30 or 5. So Shiloh, what should I leave? Should I leave Kol El early in order to light candles on time, or should I finish learning and then? So they said they asked the Rav, and the Rav either the Rav quoted the Meiri or Rav Shechter quoted the Meiri afterwards. I think it was the Rav quoted the Meiri. He says that no, you should finish learning and then you should go ahead and light. And then someone asked a kasha on me, not on me, but on the story. They said, but Rav Aaron Lichtenstein and Gush, he said they should stop learning and they should, I don't know if it's based on the Rav or not, that you should stop learning and light candles right away. To me it's no stira, because it's two different things. In YU, we're talking about Kola guys, they definitely didn't live 2 seconds away. At best, they lived in the apartments weren't popular, and they could have lived in Queens, somewhere else. They were going home, so obviously it wasn't Shaykh. And in Gush, I don't know if I might have been there once. I try not to remember it, but they used to go and light, go and light in the lunchroom wherever they lit. It's not a problem. So therefore, the Rav felt that it was better to continue your learning, especially in Bizman Hazeh, where we're not so makbid on the time anymore, because Bizman Hazeh, it's not, regular shuk is a much different time. People are in the streets are much longer. That's one issue. And then perhaps maybe the mitzvahs change. In other words, there's two issues. Number one is from Tikkun regular shuk is much later. And secondly, even if it wasn't, maybe that the mitzvahs change and the mitzvah pursuing Nisa is more on the family inside than it is on the... In fact, that's what the Shiloh comes up. But if someone comes back at 2 in the morning, or it could be 11 o'clock, but the point is everyone's sleeping when you get home. And I don't recommend necessarily waking up other people, which some do, but especially not your wife. And therefore, the Kshay Lit, should I make a bracha or not? So that's a discussion in the poskim. So I think the Mishnah Brewer's language, Hamavarach lo yaf, by making a bracha you won't lose. And Rav Aaron Soloveitchik said one should make a bracha. And the issue is because Bizman Hazeh, perhaps the Persume Nisa is just for Insa, maybe even you yourself is enough of a Persume Nisa, and therefore, but again, there could be different machokas opposed to him, but the meaning among the poskim, I suppose they all seem to say it's better, you could go, it's okay, you could lie, afterwards. Because of Bizman Hazeh, it's two changes. In fact, perhaps maybe we could find a limit schus. One of the problems with Friday candles is usually if you use the classical Chanukah boxes, it only lasts like a half an hour if you're lucky. That's what it's supposed to last. So the problem is if you light them Erev Shabbos, you're never going to make it to Asher Ticha Regum and Ashuk. They're going to go out before it's even dark. So therefore, at least you should light one Shabbos candle, but you should light really whatever. If you want to do Mahajim, you should light as many as the nighters. I wouldn't, it's slowly changing, but the minhag olam, I mean, people don't know. I'm just saying the minhag olam meaning the majority of Chai Yisrael, even those most don't know, and most people just like the Chanukah candles. Really, it's not proper. It's probably not a good idea. You shouldn't do that. But I'm talking post facto, finding a limit schus for them. So perhaps, I think this is Shiltei Giborim like this also. But if you claim that Bizman Hazeh, the mitzvahs changed, and therefore it's on, so maybe it's not the same Zman anymore, and some claim perhaps you don't need the half an hour, maybe even a couple of minutes. If someone has, the half an hour was because people coming by, you want to have enough time so people could see it. But Bizman Hazeh, it's for the inside, so maybe even if it's for a couple, maybe even a less amount of time, or, either way, either one should light oil or find Shabbat, or I think they have the longer Chanukah, because I'm not sure if they're long enough. But I know they have longer candles. I'm not sure if they're there for Friday night or just in general Hiddur Mitzvah. The longer the candles go, the longer it is. So just to summarize, so we're discussing some Inyanim Shonim by Chanukah, about the issues of Ner Shabbos, Ner Chanukah, and wine for Kiddush. We said Ner Shabbos when Shalom Bayis, then Persume Nisa, and then Tadir, and we pointed out that even though when you're laning, you're reading Rosh Chodesh first, and then Chanukah, the two schools of thoughts, whether Persume Nisa Adif all the time, or only it's an issue of either or, but Tadir, and then we worked out the Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos and during the week, and then perhaps that's the issue by Havdalah. Do you make Havdalah first when you go home, or you do near Shabbos, depending on this Nakuda, whether Persume Nisa Adif wins all the time, or just when you do only one. And then we went into the issue of the mitzvah Misha Tishka Chama, when is Tishka Chama? Is it the sunset? Is it Teisach Chavim? The Gemara says that Tichel Regum and Ashuk. How late is that? So we had the Rambam after Tichel Regum and Ashuk. That's it. The mitzvah's over. We had the Rashba. No, you get the mitzvah this time Mahadrin. And then we had the Tosis is Mesupik about this issue. And then we had the Sefer HaTrumas Beit Kiddush that you could light inside. And we point out it's how you learn the Gemara later on. But Shas HaSakana, is that a major Kiddush the Gemara is telling me? A new invention? Or no, it's always been there. With it, Shas HaSakana is the time is when you actually do it. And this issue seems to be the Machlokas, the Magen Avraham, and the Gra. And why didn't the Gemara just give the simple answer? Use the same candle for Shabbos and Chanukah. Either because the Magen Avraham, like Tosfos, you couldn't, because one was outside, one was inside. According to the Vilna Gaon, this is the source of the Machaber, that even Afil with Tashmishay Mitzvah, one is not permitted to get Hana from near Chanukah. And then we discussed, even though strictly speaking, one can light Shabbos candles before, in the Friday before Chanukah, but the minig is we want to keep it simple. That's why we keep it simple afterwards. Also, most do Havdalah, most do Havdalah first, and then they do near Chanukah. Afreil Chanukah.